I'm Gloria Cohn. This is City Hall in Focus. In this segment, we'll be talking about burglaries. Joining me is Greg Rothus, the Chief of Police of San Carlos. Chief, you have said that San Carlos is experiencing an increase in burglaries. First of all, do you think people know the difference between robberies and burglaries?
Yeah, I think some people do, but unfortunately some people don't. And there is a very distinct difference between the two. So for example, in a robbery, somebody is using force or fear to take property from another person. In a burglary, in a residential burglary, it doesn't involve force or fear or threats of violence of any kind. In a residential burglary, people don't want to confront people. In a robbery, they intentionally confront people. So when that gets confused, it could be pretty scary. For example, we don't have robberies from homes in San Carlos. I can't remember that happening.
Burglaries, well, that's good news, right?
Yeah, that is good news.
Yeah.
But the burglaries have happened and people are not home. And you know, the burglars don't want anybody home. They don't want to confront people. They want to break in, take property, and leave as quickly as they can. So what we're experiencing is burglaries, not robberies.
All right, well, good. And is this primarily residential where it's happening?
It is primarily residential, and it's also, I want to make clear, not a San Carlos problem. What we're seeing is this is regional in nature. Just about all the cities up and down the peninsula are going through what San Carlos has gone through with respect to the increase in residential burglaries.
Why?
And some worse than others. You know, it's very difficult for us to know exactly and to kind of make one-to-one attributions as cause and effect as it relates to residential burglary. But what we do know, and we do know anecdotally, is that there's been some changes in the law lately that have allowed some people who would normally be in custody to be out of custody and free to commit crimes such as residential burglaries. And specifically what I'm talking about is the passage of Prop 47, which basically said that the possession of heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamine are no longer felonies, they're misdemeanors. So in the past we would arrest people for that. Now they're given tickets and they're allowed to go back out on the street again. And here's the problem with that. The issue is that those people who are committing residential burglaries and many of our theft-related offenses are drug-addicted persons. And when they're free and when they're out and they're not recovering, they're free to commit other crimes. We don't know that empirically because we don't have that kind of one-to-one connection, but we know that anecdotally from our street enforcement units and from our patrol folks telling us that's what they're saying.
And your other law enforcement agencies that surround you, they're
Exactly.
saying the same thing.
They're saying the same thing, they're saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing about it?
Well, there's a lot that we're doing with respect to residential burglary and kind of combating that problem. Probably the first and the most important is the communications piece. You know, our ability to get out in front of the community and to explain to them, to not to hold that information back to them. We've had a town hall meeting where we really had, I think, maybe almost 200 people attend to talk about residential burglaries. I use SMC Alert a lot, and for those folks that don't know it, you can go on and sign up to get emergency information from San Carlos. And that's smcalert.net is the address. And you sign up for that, and we send out information to the community about these burglaries. We really try to arm people with information that they can do to protect themselves so they don't become victims. We use a lot of special enforcement teams, crime analysis. City Council recently authorized an additional $100,000 for the police budget to fight residential burglary. So there's a lot that we're doing.
SMC Alert is an app for the phone?
I believe there may be an app, but it is basically a website that you sign up for where you can sign up for alerts from a variety of communities, wherever you want to get these alerts from. And so people can go on there and sign up, and they can sign up for alerts in San Carlos, Woodside, Portola Valley, San Mateo, wherever they want to get the alerts from.
Social media has really helped you spread the words. Do you have a Facebook page as well?
We have a Facebook page, website, and all of that. And so social media has been great about spreading the word, but it also has a problem in that it creates some fear and misinformation about burglaries. And so that's why we need to communicate, because it allows us to clear up information. An example of something we talked about earlier, people were saying there was a lot of robberies in San Carlos, home robberies. And that's not true. It's burglaries, and we needed to educate the public. So it's helpful, but it's also something we have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, misinformation can spread pretty quickly. What is the impact of burglary on a victim?
Well, when you think about what the impact, I think our first reaction is to think about the loss of property. But that's not the primary impact. Really, the primary impact is that it creates fear. And it creates a sense of lost security. A lot of people who live in this community live here because it's safe, and it is safe. We are still one of the safest cities around. But when somebody breaks into someone's home, it does create this feeling of an invasion of my home, of my family, and I used to feel safe, and now I don't feel safe. And that is really, I think, the biggest tragedy of residential burglary.
Yeah, very unsettling.
Yeah, very unsettling.
You talked about this being perhaps drug-addicted people. There's no data to support that at this moment. Any other information about who these people might be?
Well, we have plenty of data to show that drug-addicted people. What we don't have is to show that there's a correlation between Prop 47 and the increase in burglaries. We do have that anecdotally, but not empirically. So, you know, in terms of who the suspects are, we've had residents of San Carlos commit these burglaries, and we've had people come from the East Bay to commit these burglaries. People who are gang members, people who are not gang members. And so it just runs the gamut.
I have heard anecdotally that there will be people who will follow a FedEx truck in, a UPS truck in, steal packages off of porches. I have heard of gardeners, housekeepers, etc., calling friends and from the East Bay. Is any of that true or supported?
You know, we have that from time to time, basically stealing the packages. And so one of the things that we do is we'll follow a lot of times we'll at times follow delivery trucks in undercover vehicles to see if that happens. Fortunately, it's not something we see a lot of in San Carlos,
Okay.
but it does happen.
How are people getting into the house?
You know, what they're doing is, the first thing that they're doing is they want to know if somebody's home, because they really don't want to break in if you're home. So the first thing they're doing is really oftentimes is knocking on the front door. And if you're home and you answer the front door, they come up with some, you know, lame excuse as to why they're there. It doesn't make any sense, and then they go away. But if you don't answer the door, what they're doing is they're going around the back of the house, and they're breaking in from there. They don't want to break in the front of the house for obvious reasons. They're more visible. But if they can hide and get in the back of the house, then they've got space to do what they need and time to do what they need to do. So they're breaking in via the back. A lot of times it's the sliding glass doors or windows, and they're going straight for property. They want jewelry, money, things that they can take quickly and get out quickly.
Even locked doors they're getting in?
Yeah, they're not. They will if they need to, but they're really trying to get in by smashing windows. That's the way that they get in. But the first thing that they do before they get there is they're able to get around to the back of the house by going through unsecured gates. And so that's one of the ways that we can help to prevent and combat that.
All right, that's good advice for those of us who have gates leading to our backyard to
Right.
make sure that those are secure. What else can we do to protect ourselves?
You know, one of the things that we found out in looking at some of these burglaries was that 50% of the homes weren't even locked. So we need to start there. We need to make sure that we lock and secure our homes, that we have good locks on both our doors and our windows. We can secure our windows by having shatterproof film and installing that over that to deny access to the house in that way. So there's a lot we can do to deny access to the house. And that's really the most important thing. When the alarm goes off and the interior cameras start rolling on a security system, that means generally the burglar's already inside. And that's what we really want to avoid. But if they do get in, there are systems that can help us in terms of video surveillance and alarm systems. And a lot of private vendors that people can work with to get estimates on that, and they could range anywhere from simple systems to very complex and more expensive systems. But the technology is improving and the costs are dropping, and there's a lot of competition out there for those systems. So there's a lot we can do that way.
How easy is it to apprehend the people who commit these crimes?
You know, unfortunately, it's really not that easy to apprehend burglars. The idea that a police officer is going to be driving by when somebody happens to climb over or go through a fence, you know, just the odds of that are so low. Once they're gone, we do get them sometimes through forensic evidence, but if they're gone undetected, it's very difficult to sometimes track them down. So what we really rely on a lot is neighbors, is people who live in the community and who know each other and know what cars are supposed to be there and what cars are not supposed to be there. And we rely on them and we depend on them to call us when they see things that are suspicious.
And you don't care if it turns out to be nothing. You would rather
Right.
get that call. I guess the question is, we're not bothering you when we when we call,
yeah,
right?
no, you're not. They're not bothering us, and that's the reason some people don't call. They don't. They think that they're bothering us, you know. And I always tell people, look, if you think that way, take a look at your property tax bill and realize that a lot of that money goes to pay for police. You're paying for us, and if you're concerned about something suspicious in your neighborhood, there may be a very good reason for it. And don't explain it away, and don't be afraid to call. That's what you pay us to do. And a lot of times we miss arrests and we have reoffenders because people saw something and didn't call. So we need people to call.
Chief, do you think those signs that say this house is protected by an alarm system, or even the neighborhood watch signs that are posted around, do you think those help?
I think that there is a long list of things that help, maybe one not necessarily more than the other, or one thing by itself maybe not. So whatever you can do, whether it's deciding, you know, you want a family pet, because dogs sometimes help, having the signage in place, having the alarms in place, having a neighborhood watch system, knowing who your neighbor is, securing your side gate, that's really important. All of those things combined help more than any one or two by themselves.
Thank you so much for that information. I think there's a lot of useful tips that came out of this segment. If you want more information about the police department in San Carlos or about the city and its operations, please visit the website. I'm Gloria Cohn, and this is City Hall in Focus.